All righty. Thanks, Joy. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I'm going to, well, my original plan was to do kind of an accelerated version of what I usually do for these presentations, which is do like about an hour on the basic concepts and then follow up with an hour on some concrete hands-on kind of examples of things you can do. But in preparing and rehearsing for this session, I realized that's not going to work real well. So I'm just going to kind of do both the basic concepts and the hands-on things at the same time. So uh, those of you who are already familiar with the basics, please bear with me. And those of you who aren't web wizards, it'll be brief. I'll get back to the other stuff shortly. So for thanks for your interest in this topic. Um, let's see. Next. Oops. There we go. So, I've prepared a libguide that covers a lot of what I'm going to um, cover today. Actually, it's going to cover way more than what I'm going to cover today, given the time constraints. So it's at the Leeward website at the URL there, and if you um, don't remember the URL, there's a I'll demonstrate for you how to find it. Actually, I'll demonstrate that right now. Let's see. Oh, too many things on my screen. Okay, so if you're starting from the library homepage, you go into the library guides section here. It's also under the research menu, but let's go into library guides. Why isn't that happening? Well, that's not good. Here we go. Got too many things on the screen. So to our libguides listing, which is a whole other nightmare, go to the how-to guides and making online content accessible. Okay, so and I've prepared this in lieu of a handout because this lets me cover more things, and I can go in and update things when I learn more, when new developments happen, and when I discover I've been mistaken about something, and I can go correct my errors. So this guide is uh, broken down into three sections. One is the general principles. Uh, I also cover accessibility for Word documents, Google Docs, PDFs, and then on this third web pages tab, I do a lot of the details about how you can actually um, edit HTML to fix issues, and not as well. It's a bit of a learning curve, but it's actually not that bad. And sometimes there's some issues where you really do need to get into the HTML code in order to uh, fix things. But let me pop back into my slides. Yeah, okay. So I am missing a slide. Okay. So why is this important to us in libraries? Why is it important to me? Why did I learn all this stuff? Well, like the rest of you, our websites are not just a forum for publicizing our services or posting our policies. It's also a service delivery platform, right? Because we want to present our databases and online resources in such a way that it's as intuitive as possible for the widest range of patrons. And it's also a teaching tool, right? Because we want to teach people how to choose the correct resource, how to use them, how to evaluate and use the information they find, all that good stuff. And so it's really, really important that we be able to control our own online presence, control our website. The last thing we want is for someone to come, administrator come to us and say, we've got this problem. We're going to take away, you're not going to be able to control your own website anymore. Just tell us what you want to put up and we'll do it for you. That would be, of course, a nightmare for us. But in order to fight that, and in order to prove that we're able to maintain our own website, we need to be able to demonstrate that we can take care of our own accessibility issues. Um, I think educational institutions, especially, are a high profile target for people to complain because the creation of content is so um, spread out among people with varying levels of expertise. Um, what are the various laws and regulations that uh, govern this? Well, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act um, applies to any organization that receives federal funding of any kind. It prohibits those institutions from discriminating on the basis of disability. Of course, just about every library is part of some organization that receives some kind of federal funding. Uh, Hopefully that continues to be the case. I up until a year ago, it wouldn't even be a question, and then they decimated the IMLS, and so hopefully, well, anyway. If you're affiliated with the university, uh, you may know that someone actually did make a complaint that the university was not um, fulfilling its obligations under 504, and so there was an agreement reached between UH and the U.S. Department of Education um, that we would be compliant with the accessibility standards uh, version 2.0 at the time by 2021. So um, if you haven't done this yet, you're about 4 years behind. And some of you may have heard that upcoming in next April, they're finally updating the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, Title II, which covers public government agencies, to finally put in writing that state and local government agencies have to have their online services accessible. You may remember when the ADA came out, it was uh, before most people had heard of the internet or the web. Um, those of us who were already working in libraries had already heard of the internet by then, but uh, they're finally now actually putting it in writing. So that's what's coming up. But as I said before, most of us are already covered for other reasons. So don't wait till then because you're already behind now if you haven't. Oh, and the standard is WCAG 2.1 level AA. That's the web content accessibility guidelines. Um, Although I've heard they may be changing what that stands for because the newer standard also applies to things like mobile app interfaces. And actually, I think most of the changes between 2.0 and 2.1 involve mobile apps. So yeah, I didn't have to do that much when we had to switch from 2.0 to 2.1, but that's the case. And the AAA AAA thing is level A is considered the bare minimum. Double A is acceptable for legal compliance reasons. AAA is even stricter, and if you can achieve AAA, that's even better. Yeah, you can shoot for it here and there, but yeah, double A is what we have to shoot for to be in legal compliance. So the first principle I'm going to be talking about today is uh, words as text versus pictures of words or graphic images. Um, I think most of you probably intuitively understand that computers often handle text as strings of characters, and that's why you're able to copy a line of text and then paste it into another application and edit it in its new place. And that's also why special programs called screen readers, which are programs used by people with visual disabilities, used to read text off of a computer screen. So the computer interface, web pages, documents, PDFs, um, the screen reader is able to read out, audibly read out what's on the computer screen. Images containing words, however, you know, picture of words basically, cannot be read by screen readers. You must provide some kind of alternative representation of um, the content or whatever the function is of that image. And I am going to tell you how to do that in about 7 minutes, I think, because I have a little bit more to say about text. So I'll get back to the images in a little bit. So what this illustration shows is that, well, both sides of the screen have the same word. So it's the difference, of course, on the left, it's formatted in a way that gives you visual clues about um, how the document is structured. You can see the headings, the subheadings. You can see there's a list in there. There are paragraphs. So it helps you very quickly identify the structure, and it helps you absorb the the meaning of the document, as opposed to the right side where it's just a long string of words. And if someone were to um, just read that out, you might have a hard time um, absorbing it, just listening to it. So uh, in addition to having your content in the form of text, you also have to tag it or mark it up next screen in a way that you're embedding codes into the document that allow the screen reader to audibly uh, explain the context or the function of the words to make it easier to absorb. So headings and subheadings most frequently, I think you have to deal with. Paragraphs usually take care of themselves because if you're typing out something on a word processor or something and you hit the enter key, it kind of knows that you meant to finish up that paragraph and start another. So it'll automatically take care of my paragraphs. Lists are something you want to make sure properly marked so that when you get to a list, it tells you that you're about to hear a list, and it tells you that this is part of the list, this is part of the list, this is part of the list, etc. And now that list is over. Tables, I'll talk about a little bit in a bit, but basically you want to make sure that your the column and row headers are different, coded a little bit differently from the data. Now, how do you do this markup? What you don't do is what people commonly do, which I used to do before I knew better, is use um, a bolding, change the font, maybe change the color or the size to change the appearance of the headings. None of those clues are available to somebody hearing it read out by a screen reader. What you do want to do is use the tools in your composing tool, your interface. It'd be Google Docs or your web authoring utility or whatever. I think let me show you an example. Do I have an example? I do have an example. Oh gosh. All right. I remember what I'm doing now. Okay. So so here is an example. This is just a Google Doc screen. And if you look at the toolbar up here, you see this little menu here for normal text, title, subtitle, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So you would use this to apply. This is probably a bad example. used to tell what the function is. Oh, you know what? I'm going to mess up this document completely and turn that into a heading. So this would be, so your heading one would be the title for your page. And let me reverse that because I'm going to need this page later on. Um, Normal text would be like your text in your paragraph. Uh, Title is actually would be used for the title page of a multi-page document. So like the cover that you're going to put on like a big report or something. That's what title is for. Heading one is what you would use for um, your page title. Of course, heading two would be like your subheadings that divide up your document. And if you needed to further divide it up, um, you would use heading level 3. Um, Now, you don't have to give up control of the appearance of your document. You can actually style the headings to make it look like you want. And if you do it that way, you get the added bonus of when you're applying these heading styles, it not only tags the heading as heading so that the screen reader knows it's a heading, it also automatically applies the styling. So you don't have to go to each heading and make it bold and change the font and make it look like you want to. That's also automatically taken care of when you do it this way, when you save the heading style to the heading. This page, by the way, is the page that I put on my other browser windows. So when I'm choosing which window to share in this Zoom meeting, I don't accidentally choose the wrong one. That's what this is for. Let me jump back to here. And let me pick up this again. Okay. Oh yeah, lists. Um, yeah, this also makes it easier. You just type in your list items and then you highlight the whole thing and say whether you wanted a bulleted list or a numbered list. So that allows the screen reader to say, this is a list, list item, list item, list item, end of the list. So makes it a little bit easier to hear. Nice. I covered that already. Okay, tables are more complicated than I have time to address today. I've got links in the LibGuide that takes you to sites that explain it a lot better than I could. So basically, the what you got to remember about tables is that you should only use it to communicate, tabular information, things that need to be in a table to be understood or to be presented. What you should not do, which a lot of people do, is use a table as a layout tool because it locks everything into a grid, and it kind of it's a shortcut for making things stay where you want it to. And basically, what you want to do with tables is put the table header tags around your headers cells, the rows and the column headers, so that the screen reader is able to announce the row and column titles when it's reading out the data cells. You can read out more on that on your own. Okay, forms, web page forms. This is another thing that I'm just presenting for your awareness um, because it's a little bit, just a little bit too long to discuss in the time we have today. Uh, so the deal with forms is that it's common to have the form label follow the control. And by control, I mean like a button or a checkbox or a field where you type something in or a menu where you choose something. Imagine a checkbox in your head. There's a checkbox, and then right next to it is a label that tells you what that checkbox is for. And if you're going top to bottom, left to right, that means the label is being read out after the presence of that checkbox is. So to deal with that, you're supposed to associate each form control with its label so that the screen reader can tell the user what each particular control does. And the way that's done is that you assign a unique name to the individual controls, or possibly the labels, depending on your circumstances. Sometimes, I mean, frequently they already have a unique name assigned to them. And then you have to add attributes to the individual HTML tags for those controls and those labels to say this label is for that thing over there, or or this thing over here is labeled by that label over there. And that's all I'm going to say about this. Oops. Oh, I want to say a thing about meaningful link text. So if you're making a line of text in your document, a link to go somewhere else, you should make that text meaningful to indicate what that link goes to or what it's for. The reason is that people who use screen readers sometimes skim through a document by jumping from link to link to link. So imagine how unhelpful it would be if your links say, click here, click here, click here, or more info, without explaining what it does. So keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, and opening links in a new tab or window, please don't if you can avoid it, if at all possible, because it makes it harder to navigate back to your original page because the back button no longer works when you do that. Um, Imagine if you had to like listen to cues to get back to your original tab, or step through a bunch of options with a keyboard to get back. So if you can at all avoid opening up a new site and a new tab, um, yeah, just avoid it. It's easy enough. If you really want to see, if you as a user of a web page want to open something up in a new tab or new, it's easy enough to force that to happen. But if you find yourself in the position where you absolutely uh, have to open something up in a new tab for some reason, at least give warning that you're about to do that. Um, you could maybe put just opens new window message in your text, or you can put like a little icon that makes it look like you're opening a new window. There's a in the guide, there's some instructions for this neat technique where let me demonstrate that real quick. Whoops, what am I? Okay. Right, okay. Where you can have a message hidden uh, until you mouse over it, or until you um, reach it with the keyboard. So that message always remains visible to the screen reader, but it only pops up visibly when you actually get to it. Yeah, okay, I did cover that too. Okay, so now I'm getting back to where I said I was going to get back to, where I explain what you do about the graphic images on your web page, or in your document, I should say. Um, so if you look at your image and you think about why it's there, ask yourself, is there still information in this image that you need to convey, right? And um, I did miss something. Here we go. So is there still something in that image you need to convey? Or is that information already in the text that accompanies that image? Do you already explain what it is you wanted to convey? Um, or can you change your text to include that information? In that case, um, ask yourself, is that image then redundant? Is the information in that image redundant? Um, or ask yourself, did you put that graphic there just for decoration to make your page look better? And maybe it doesn't contain any information at all. If so, what you can do is mark the image as decorative. And when you mark it as decorative, the screen reader ignores it. It doesn't even bother announcing the presence of it there. Now to this slide. If there's still information that you need to convey, um, you should supply alternative text that the screen reader can read out to explain or describe it. And that's not necessarily a detailed description of the image. It all depends on what is it that you need to communicate. Um, and there's a link on the LibGuide to a very good explanation about what level of detail do you need to present in order to accomplish what you need to do. So the techniques. One option is you can attach a hidden short sentence to that graphic, typically using a tool in your composing interface. You go to the properties for that image, and there should be a field in there for alt text. It's usually called alt text, but basically something where you can put a sentence that's only going to be read by the screen reader. And that's different from the title field where you put your mouse pointer on the thing and the thing pops up. That's something else. Title is not alt text. Alt text is like completely invisible. Um, if you're manually editing the HTML code of your web page, that goes into an alt attribute in the image tag for that graphic. It can be alt equals, and then in the parentheses, you put in your sentence. If you're marking a decorative image that can be safely ignored by the screen reader, that's done by putting in an empty alt attribute, as you can see on the screen. Alt equals and a pair of quotes without anything in between them. And if you're doing the same in PDF, the term they use for that is artifact. So you label an image as an artifact, so it can be ignored. Pardon me. There's another option if you have a lot of information that needs to be um, conveyed that can't be summarized briefly. What you could do is create like a simple web page with the same information. You might want to do that with an infographic. Uh, and then you place a link to that page next to the complicated graphic. And of course, to do this, you would have to have um, the ability to create the page and also have some place to host it, but it would look something like, oh, I think I put it here. No, it's not there. It is here. Oh, so here's an example of a infographic that we used to have on the library website. It's not there anymore, but um, in order to convey all of this information in what is essentially a picture of words. I had to create another web page, put another link here where it says accessible text, and that brings up basically a super simple web page that just has the same information on it. Um, Perhaps not the ideal situation because you're making someone with a disability have to go to some other document to access the information, but it is an acceptable solution if you're kind of stuck for solutions, and in some cases it may actually be a better solution, because having a page that just gives the information instead of having all these workarounds to have the information appear some other way, it might even be a more desirable solution. Okay, I'm getting better at switching around. Now, you may be asking yourself, can can AI provide a solution? In theory, sure, AI can analyze an image to try to figure out what information contains. Um, but if you've ever uh, posted to Instagram, if you and you go to the little edit menu, one of the options is to uh, add alternative text. But if you look at some of what it generates on its own, it contains a whole lot of you know excess excessive detail that may be well more than what way more than what you wanted to communicate, and it would take a long time to listen to, um, or it might just be wrong. Uh, but you know, having alternative text composed by the author of the document who knows what they're trying to communicate, is going to be still more accurate and a better experience, because it passed through the brain of a human who wants to actually accomplish something. Oh, and some other things to remember about visual disabilities. One, don't rely solely on color to communicate meaning. Um, do I have did I roll past it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is what our statistical report used to look, our annual survey, the report from our annual survey, which we would use Google Forms to do. And this is on the left side. This is the output that Google Forms generates when you ask for a report of what the results are. And as you can see, there's a little legend that tells you what blue represents, what red represents, what. Yeah. Well, imagine if you're colorblind. That's going to be a problem. Um, the solution I used, which was very labor intensive, but quite effective, is that I actually rebuilt the report into a web page where everything is text and not image. And by the way, uh, everything about this was image in the Google Forms um, version, so it didn't even read out this stuff or any of the numbers. But when I rebuilt it into a web page, did everything in text. I actually put the data along with the labels, so you didn't even have to look at the graph. And in fact, I marked all of the pie charts as decorative text, because you didn't actually need to see it in order to get the data. And there's no, I mean, why even bother announcing the presence of a pie chart that you can't even see when you've already been given all the data? Oh, and let's see, did I have it? Oh, I think I have it in this tab. Oh, so WebAIM, which is a nonprofit organization that deals with accessibility, they've got this tool that you can use to figure out if you're using sufficient contrast between your text and your background. Okay. So in addition to, God, In addition to visual disabilities, you also have to worry about physical disabilities that keep people from using a mouse, right? Because some people can't use mice. So be careful about putting something on a web page that requires a mouse click to operate. It's very common with widgets, forms. Um, yeah, and I forgot what else I was going to say. There is a way that you can often modify a control to also be activated using a keyboard, and that's to put the attribute tab index equals 0 into the HTML tag. You should have a visible focus indicator and focus. So at any given time on a web page, there's one thing that's going to receive input when you like hit the enter button or start typing, and that's called having the state of focus. So a focus indicator is something on the screen that tells you what the thing is on the screen that has focus. I should have planned this better so I don't have to keep switching between. Well, anyway. So just to demonstrate what that looks like. So I'm back to my guide here, but what I'm going to do. So I'm using my tab key. If you look at the top of the screen, um, the college's logo is now surrounded by a blue box. That is the focus indicator. That's telling you if I were to hit the enter key at this point, I would be going to the college's homepage. If I hit the tab key, it jumps to the library logo thingy. Um, it jumps, tab key again, hits the home button, the hours button. Now it's going through the menu. If I hit shift tab, it goes backwards. If I were to hit enter, um, then I can, open up a sub menu and navigate through there. And so basically, that's what I'm talking about when I say everything should be operable from the keyboard, using a keyboard. In an earlier version of this menu, uh, previous incarnation of the website, the menu would be like a hover thing where you had to hold a mouse pointer above the title, and thing would open up. And anyway, it didn't it you couldn't do that with a keyboard because it just didn't work. But so it's like, oh, gee. Google Apps can be problematic. I already told you my story about the Google Forms and the report. Um, it's weird. Um, they're trying, they're aware of the issues, they're trying, and yet their their interfaces, they're, just have problems. They continue to have problems to this day. If you're if you want to present just like a word process document, um, I recommend trying to convert it to an accessible PDF. Um, it just seems to work better. Uh, and if you were to export a Google Doc into a PDF directly, there's some issues there with the accessibility of that export PDF that you have to correct in Adobe Acrobat. I find it easier to fix those in Word first. So my recommendation, and maybe they've gotten better since I've come across, but my recommendation is from Google Docs, export your document as a Word file. In Microsoft Word, uh, run the accessibility checker. Optionally, you can at that point give a title to your document because Adobe requires it to pass its uh, accessibility checker. Okay. And here I've got just a sample document to show what you do inside Word. And so just take a second. So you go into the file menu, go into info, inspect document, check accessibility, and then it's gonna run some checks and tell you what you have to fix and how to fix it. It's not so bad. Um, Also under info, this is where you can add uh, the title. You don't need a title for it to pass the pass words accessibility test, but when you take it over into Adobe Acrobat, yes, and they've got, well, actually by default it gives you this, and then you see view more. Um, where did it go? Where did it go? Prepare for accessibility. Check for accessibility, then you start checking, and then it gives you a report, which is already open because I was checking this out before we started, and I forgot to close it. But anyway, um, so this is pretty good, except you need to do a manual check for logical reading order and color contrast. Logical reading order, which is usually not a problem for a straight ahead document like this. You know, you're just going top to bottom. If you got like multiple columns or you have like an inset with other, you know, like a blob of information on your, that's when the, you know, the automatic systems have a hard time sometimes putting everything in the correct order that you meant it. So when it says check your logical reading order, that's what they mean. And that's another example where you as the creator of the document who knows what you're trying to do, you have to make that decision. And that's why it says needs manual check. It can't read your mind and do that automatically. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. And now a few words about captioning YouTube videos. Um, so when you upload a video to YouTube, it will usually automatically try to automatically generate captions, which is really cool. Not always accurate, but it's very helpful. It's gotten a lot better over the years. Um, and then you can go in and try to, you know, edit any mistranscriptions. You can punctuate it, maybe rearrange the words a little bit, and adjust the timings for readability. Um, You can also upload a script file, or I mean, if you're working from a script, which I am obviously not doing today, because otherwise I'm going all over the place, or if you have transcriptions generated by Zoom or Otter AI, which university users now have access to. You still have to pay for it, but they've got some kind of group deal where you can sign up for an account. You can upload those too, and YouTube will try to automatically set the timings for that. At this point, I'm going to play a little video of something I recorded several years ago, but the interface, the process is pretty much the same. Um, I'm I made a rather startling discovery this morning as I was preparing. Uh, the interface in my personal YouTube account is a little bit different than how it looks in the library's YouTube account. So that caught me off guard. I thought there were some changes made over the years. I thought, oh no, I have to redo the video. But it turns out the video is pretty close to what it was like. several years ago. So I'm just going to play that because it takes uh, a kind of a long process and cuts out all the boring bits in between. So let me play that and I will join you again in about 7 minutes. If I can remember where I put it. Oh, yes. Let's start by uploading a video that you would like to post to your YouTube channel. This is going to take a while. Now you could at this point type in or upload your own subtitles, but we're going to let YouTube automatically try to add titles by recognizing the words spoken in your video. And that's going to take a while, so let's take a break here. And we're back. Now let's go check in on the video and see how it's doing. So I'm going to click on subtitles here on the left side of the screen. And it looks like the automatic transcript, the captioning has been completed. It used to say add here, now it says duplicate and edit. So let's go into that. I'm going to adjust the screen a little bit to make it a little bit easier to read, I think. And so let's go take a look and see how it did. On the EVA side of the 3rd floor of the library is our instruction area. It is currently unavailable and all instruction is being done online. Every other computer has been blocked off to provide separation between the seats. Okay, not bad at all. It's amazing how much better the automatic captioning has been getting over the years. So I look through the text here. I'm just going to look for any obvious mistranscription. Here's one where I said on the EVA side, it took that as others. I'm going to fix that. It did correctly pick up Malka, which is pretty impressive. I'm going to capitalize and punctuate this to make it easier to read. That is the recommended practice. You can also edit the timing. And so you can adjust how long the caption stays on the screen. You can also, let's see, adjust which block each word appears in. So in this case, I just want to complete that sentence. I'm going to move that last word. Well, we'll just see if that works out with the timing. Now, if the block of text was too long, I could actually add another block and maybe move some words around and change the timing here. So these are the seconds during which the captions, each block of captions is shown on the screen. Oops, correction. That's the second and the frame within that second. The video was shot at 30 frames a second, so those numbers go from 00 up to 29. Let's say there was a significant sound effect. We have a little bit of space during that pause, so I can add another block in there. Now I found quite a bit of difference between recommendations for how to format captions. Everyone pretty much agrees that significant sound effects should be shown in square brackets. There was no dog in the library, but I'm just going to add that in for demonstration purposes. Now I found quite a few different recommendations for how to indicate the speaker. Now, if there's only one speaker in your video, then that's not necessary to do. But if you have multiple speakers, you should indicate who is speaking. Everybody pretty much agrees that the speaker's name should be followed by colon. Sometimes you'll see recommendations for putting the name in parentheses. Other times, a couple of angle brackets like that. So no, I'm pretty satisfied with how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. So now we have two sets of captions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the automatically generated captions and unpublish that so that it doesn't appear as an option when you actually view the video. So now let's take a look to see how it turned out. On the EVA side of the third floor of the library is our instruction area. It is currently unavailable and all instruction is being done online. Every other computer has been blocked off to provide separation between the seats. And as I swing around to the Mauka side, you can see that all of our study tables and seating is either single person only or two seats with a plexiglass barrier between them. All right. Sorry if I gave anyone a little bit of post-traumatic stress playing that clip from 4 years ago. Um, yeah. Oh, and there's a relatively new functionality that YouTube started rolling out, not to everyone at once, but descriptive audio. I haven't gotten it in my personal YouTube studio interface yet. I notice it is in the library's YouTube accounts. I'm not sure why I haven't gotten it 2 years later. But basically, descriptive audio is it's for people with visual disabilities. You take the regular audio track, but in like pauses or quiet moments, you can insert brief descriptions of the action that's going on in the screen. So that can help somebody who's listening to a movie understand what the action is, and that can tremendously help somebody comprehend what's there on screen. Oh, okay. And now a few words about your options for actually checking the accessibility of your website or your documents for that matter. No, these are for your website. So the tool I use most often is the Wave tool, which is from that WebAIM organization, Web Accessibility in Mind, I believe is what that stands for. Nonprofit. It's a university that runs that. But the Wave tool is available as either a web page that you can send a URL to them, and they will pop right back with the report, instantly comes back with an automatically generated report about yeah, any issues. And it's also available as a browser extension, which is how I usually use it. Um, and the browser extension is really um, helpful because if I'm composing a page offline, it doesn't have to be uploaded to a web server for it to check it. I can actually check it locally and make on-the-spot changes there. Um, there are other tools available to people affiliated with UH that are a little more complicated to use and heavy duty. And what was I looking for? Oh, yeah. Just looking for that again. Let's see, shrink that down. Let's go back to this. And so, yeah, here's that little that browser extension, that little W up in the upper right corner. If I click on that, it generates a report. Luckily, I've got no errors here. My contrast is sufficient. I've got one alert, which may or may not be a problem. I know in this case, it's not. Um, in this case, the alert is a redundant link up at the top here, and where that comes from is when we laid out the page, we made the word library be a link that goes back to the library homepage. Turns out some people don't don't realize that that's what that does, so we ended up putting in a an actual home button. So but in doing that, I end up with two links next to each other that both go to the homepage, and that's why it generated that alert. But I think we have to live with that because the other problem that we were facing. So yeah, so it's tells you um, there's a bunch of features, things that I put in to try to enhance accessibility. I made sure all of our images have alternative text. Um, Made sure it's properly structured and marked up. ARIA is like an extension to HTML that you can use to specifically address accessibility problems. So when I was talking about forms and labels and making sure they're linked together so that the screen reader knows which label goes to which form control, that's a lot of ARIA takes care of a lot of those problems. And then just reset that. Oh, and there's another thing you can do to check your page is download a screen reader. NVDA is a free one. It comes out of New Zealand, I believe. It's available for free, although they'll accept donations. So if you go and download that, install on your machine, uh, you do consider giving us some money to keep the project going. The JAWS is also it is a screen reader that is like the gold standard um, for screen readers. It has kind of a steep learning curve, but if you're affiliated with UH, you can download it for free because um, they got a license to cover the entire university, and that's an expensive program to get on your own. So that's a really nice thing. We're getting close to the end, folks. Oh, we are at the end. Okay, so I left some time for questions, and once again, there's that link to that guide that I kept bringing up again. So um, yeah, go fill in the blanks of everything I glossed over today with that. But I wanted to leave some time for questions, and so here we are. Oh, okay, I see something in the chat. Or yep. Oh yeah. That that Title II, that ADA Title II thing with mm, mm, yeah. I think I'd have to go back and read it, but I do believe archival documents, as long as you put it someplace where it's labeled as an archival document and it's old and before the standards came in place, I believe you're okay. The nice thing about all of these accessibility rules is that there isn't uh, are exemptions for like really old material that you're keeping around for like historical reasons, um, or for things that um, have hurdles with making them accessible, um, that would just be impossible to reach. And it would be like a rare occurrence. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Gosh, wow, what was that? Okay. I've got so much automation going on around me. I just wanted something. Just woke up on that. So, um, yeah, I think if it is older archival material, I think you're okay as long as you put it someplace where it's labeled as archival material. Um, and it's just going to be like really difficult, like yeah, old scan documents, converting them to something that's compliant with the current standards. That would be very labor intensive. So yeah, I think it would fall under the exemption. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't been paying really close attention to the new rules because uh, we were even under the old rules that we were already supposed to be um, complying with. Yeah, if you were doing what we were supposed to be doing, you're fine. It's just a formalization of a standard that has kind of been either voluntarily complied with or under threat of lawsuit for not fulfilling your Section 504 responsibilities. So, but I understand it is kind of scary if it's sort of dropped into your lap and you're now becoming aware of it, because that's only 6 months away, 5 months away. But yeah, there is an exemption for really old stuff. Uh, yeah, so the stuff in D space and scholars, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking the older materials are probably okay from my reading of the guidance that the Department of Justice was putting out. Oh, okay. So checking your website, I I think using Wave on each page is pretty easy. Um, the site improve tool that you can get is, if you're part of the university, um, it's one of a suite of tools that they make available. I mean, they've made a lot of things available after we got almost sued by the Department of Education, thankfully. But some of them you like submit your website, and a little bit of time passes while they process it, and then you get this whole long big report, um, analyzing everything. And some of the tools are actually quite a bit more strict than the Wave tool is. But yeah, so maybe running one of those just so you can get an idea of your whole website if you haven't been keeping up along with it along the way. And then as you go on, I think the Wave tool is pretty good at just keeping you uh, in good shape, especially once you're familiar with these concepts and methods, and that's becomes part of your workflow. Just spot checking now and then, I think should probably be fine. All right, there. I think as long as you do if you put in a good faith effort, you're probably not gonna get in trouble, I think. Oh yeah, so at Honolulu, just it's system wide, all those tools, because the complaint against the university was against everybody, and so everybody was supposed to um, make themselves compliant by 2021. So yeah, there's all kinds of training and tools that uh, UH is making available for the whole system. It's how do I find that again? It's on that LibGuide. I've got links to the UH accessibility site somewhere in there. Well, good thing I plan to leave about 10 minutes for questions at the end. We actually, and I think we have what, 7 minutes left. So yeah, if anyone else has questions, or you can always contact me directly. rtoyama@hawaii.edu.
Okay, if you think we have no more question, I'm going to stop recording.